Good day, friends. May the 5th, 2023, the first of an OBE journal for 2023. And I've been feeling that urge to speak of being out of body at night. And taking a slightly different tack than I did in other OBE journals for 2017, 2018, 2019, a little bit for 2022. And I recognize the urge because I seem to feel this pressure, psychic pressure, I don't know what you want to call it, to do a lot of things at once. And it's, a little crazy making. When I say a lot of things, I mean sort of various creative activities. Oh, I should do this. Oh, I should do that. And I can do this. I can do that. And I recognize it's reminiscent of astral plane activity because you can do a lot of things almost at once. And it leaks into this life where we tend to do things sequentially and without that kind of pressure or that kind of excitement. And as I say, I've been feeling it for a while, and a little inspired last night by a fairly recent talk by Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar, and he was talking about at one point how we're only sort of projected here. We really exist there. Our real eternal being is there. And I thought, yeah, well, he's got that right. And just sort of feeling inspired by that. And one of those creative, purposeful accidents. I just happened to be looking at that after something else. Certainly been aware of Daryl and Bashar since, mid-90s. I actually saw him channel Bashar in around 1995 in Glastonbury, England, at a crop circle conference. And not only that little interesting accident, I was walking with some other friends, getting ready to go to a talk, like 2 or 3 hours before, and we met him on the sidewalk in Glastonbury, had a little chat. It was nice. And it did not seem like an accident at all. There again, nothing does. Not really. We're here for a purpose, and that purpose is to fulfill our greater potential and bring our greater being into manifestation here as much as we can. Rather than feeling oppressed, limited, and irritable, we can feel creative and boundless and, joyful. So I'm recalling, and that is, a recall for sure, moving out of body and going where? Well, quickly rising above my bedroom, my house, my neighborhood, my country, which is Canada, of course. Southern Ontario, near Toronto. Changing dimensions, moving into a fairly high astral level, and meeting up with that smiling Irish mystic, Terence McKenna, who has a number of manifestations since he passed, one of which is a Terence McKenna look-alike, and he does that as a gesture to people like me and his fans and loved ones and followers. That's not his only manifestation, but that's one of them. And I greet him, he greets me, and I explain quickly my mission. And he just chuckles and asks how he can be of some kind of assistance. And I said, well, Terence, I just wish to make contact and celebrate your contribution to the psychedelic and post-psychedelic culture, which is, as you know, ongoing and has spread more like wildfire even than it did when you were here. People are doing ayahuasca all over the place and making videos about it, which is, something that, we learned from you and your books and your tapes. He happily acknowledges that and hopes and wishes that the breakthrough into multidimensionality is and continues to be a joyful success for all who practice it. It is our true nature, he says. And we can discover many aspects of it on many different trips. At this point, as he says this, he turns into a sort of, we'll call it a fuzzy picture, where you can sort of, like that digital thing where you can see all the pixels, like a very detailed puzzle, in little colored square pixels. And I see myself falling into that pixel puzzle, if you like, and I'm sort of into a sort of a lighted cavern, if you like, where there are, I'm surrounded by these many-colored pixels, which of course are bigger now that I'm inside them, or inside the cavern. And I'm sort of deliriously banging about in there and realizing he's pulled a little stunt just for fun. And yes, he's another little sparkly light has joined me as we buzz around inside this pixelated little carnival. And there's this sense of giddiness, bouncing around like children on a trampoline sort of thing, except everywhere is a trampoline, not just the one below your feet. And then I come out of that and I'm standing in front of him again, and he grins at me. How'd you like that? I said, neat trick, Terence, neat trick. And I thank you for that, and I will be off now. And he says, farewell and see you again, or see you never and then see you again. And off I go. As you know, you can project anywhere. Once you realize that you can project anywhere, nothing can hold you back. You don't have to be in one place, one community, one stratus of the astral plane. You can do many. I'm now sitting in front of, and this took something like seconds, less time than it's taking me to talk about it, and I'm sitting down looking at Jeffrey Epstein, who I've visited before, and he is asking me why I've come to visit him again. And I said, I just thought I'd drop in, Jeffrey, and see how you're doing. And he says, I'm doing okay, thank you. I could be better, but I'm all right. And I said, are you following the wake of your karmic vibrations on Earth? Are you looking at what's going on? And he says, I try not to. I'm tired of it. I'm bored of it. It's just such a big blame game. And I'm the guy that's getting all the blame. I'm taking all the heat. I'm suffering for the sins of others. And I said, oh, really? This sins? You see it as a sin? Oh, it's a metaphor, he says. Yeah, I get it. I said, it's a metaphor. All right, then. So, where are we now? And the screen has gone black. Can you see me? I don't know. And that was the light. The light by me. God bless the light. Must be a loose cannon, a loose connection. So yeah, there I was. There I am. Here I am. There I was. Here I am. There I was. Here I am. I'm here now. I'm back at talking to Jeffrey Epstein. He's got a sort of slightly grumpy, tolerant look about him. Like, why me? Why now? What did I do? And I said, well, whatever you did or did not do, Jeffrey, you're experiencing the karmic vibrations of it all, just like anyone else in the physical or the astral. Everything you do comes back to bite you. You know that. He says, boy, do I know that. I said, didn't you realize in the midst of it all that it would happen? And he said, well, no, not really. I thought I was riding the surf of my cleverness, my wit, my networking. I thought I was doing good for humanity by projecting this notion that we could create, with me as the central practitioner, a heightened, more efficient form of DNA in babies. And I said, you were going to do it all, were you? Well, me and some others, but I thought I could really, do the show. And I was a busy fellow. I was doing a lot of things. I was, as you know, networking, and with slightly different agendas with everybody. I would analyze fairly quickly what people that came to me needed and what I could do for them, what they could do for me, and how the whole enterprise could be expanded and made more fruitful. I said, oh, fruitful, really? I said, did you know that you were obsessed with a lower astral being that was basically a sort of black magic horn dog that pushed you into sexuality constantly because of the thrill it would get from you? Did you know that? And he kind of shook his head and said, well, I had dreams that was happening, but I never really believed it. It seemed more like a crazy movie that I was fantasizing about, some B flick from the 1950s, And I said, no, well, I've checked it out. You were. And this is what happens when you become obsessed with one level of vibration in your being. And in your case, it was a kind of a mixture of second and third chakra. The second being the sexuality projection chakra, and the third being the one of willpower and control. And am I the only one that got caught doing that? And I said, no, there's many manipulators of willpower who get sucked into continuing it by what we esoterics call the lower astral obsessives that glom onto you and keep you doing what they like you to do, whether it's sex, drugs, money, power, gambling, manipulation of others, heartless, efficient manipulation of others. I wasn't heartless, though. I cared about what people needed and wanted. People got rewards. They got rewards that suited their status in life and their pursuit of their own being. I said, oh, that's very philosophical of you, Jeffrey. And what about your partner in crime? Ah, a mere servant. And how is she doing? Well, I understand she's comfortably incarcerated and complaining that she's hard done by. And the extent of your network and your diaries and whatnot is slowly being uncovered and published. And we think it's to distract the public from some of the more serious political elements of the network's functioning. But still, life goes on and other shit happens. And you're not here to lay a big shitload of blame on me, are you? And I said, no, I'm not here to do that. I just thought I'd drop by and say hello and tell you that, your activities are ongoing, even if it's just reverberations. And how are you doing here in this world? Well, I lead a much quieter life here. Various contacts have provided me a place to hang my hat in a most comfortable fashion. And life on this afterlife world is as pleasant as one can make it. And I said to myself, or I said to him rather, I'm sure there's lots of people on earth want to see you punished, but until you want to see yourself punished, that probably won't happen. And he said, well, that's good to know. And I said, well, yeah, but, your conscience will start to eat away at you, even if it's not now. But, good luck with that. And be aware that many, many souls feel remorse for their actions in this afterlife world, either now or later. And, live through it, learn from it, and maybe plan to return with a more giving, kind agenda that is less about polishing your ego and boosting the hearts of others. Oh, I see. You're one of those do-gooder, let's all be nice to each other guys. I see. I said, well, maybe that's how you see it, but that's all I'm saying for now, and I'll see you later. Be well. And he sort of gives me this sort of, oh God, grimace thing that I've seen before. And off I go. And where am I now? Oh my goodness. Okay, let me just focus. I'm doing a musical thing. As you know, I'm very fond of music. And there's plenty of fairly famous dead musicians at this point in various levels of the astral plane. And I talked in an earlier video from 2 or 3 years ago about seeing various passed on Grateful Dead members playing in a fairly intimate but, still sizable club, sort of in Astral, California. And it's interesting. I see now Bob Weir, who's alive right now, talks on occasional interviews about Jerry coming to him in dreams, giving him inspiration and interacting. And I see now, I didn't see Bob Weir before, but he's playing with him. He's projected and he's playing in this club right now. Now, where he is in terms of, is he asleep? I think he probably is on Earth. But, they're playing and it's a nice, nice vibe. Looks to me like that's Brent Midland there. A drummer I do not know. John Kahn on bass, I'm almost certain. And these are all, younger versions of their last physical selves. So think of how they might have looked in 1975 or, something like that. And I've dropped in the middle of what the Dead would call space, drum space. Free improvisation, drifting around, with a pleasing harmonic structure. And the people in the audience, of whom I'm one, although I'm sort of floating up near the ceiling, are seated as they would be in a club. Not a big outdoor dancey kind of thing. It's more an intimate, the sort of people that would see the Jerry Garcia band 40 years ago, that sort of level. And if I allow myself to sink into the space of the music, I will just drift off and not be able to say anything. And I'm here to report for you. So I'm leaving part of myself there, because one can do that. And I'm also projecting to the the astral home of my father, who has been in the astral for many decades and is very comfortable there, and is quite accustomed to me dropping by for a visit. And he stands up from a chair, smiles, gives me a hug, and we sit down. And he asks me what kind of adventure I'm up to tonight. He says, I know it's night because you come here when you're sleeping. I said, well, that's true. I said, do I ever come here when I'm awake? And, actually moving around on Earth? I've wondered about that. He says, oh, yeah, you do that too. You pass by, say hello, and drop in, give me a hug, and ask me how I'm doing, and, move on. And I ask about my mother, who's also has been in the astral about 15 years, and she's off with her a couple of her sisters. And what are they doing? They've gone to some fashion show, I think he says, and or some social cultural activity, which I think is a fashion show. And I said, well, I give my regards and understand I've been there many times and interacted with family members. And I explained quickly the purpose of this little visit and what I'm doing with this little video, and trying to show what can be done by one or many in the astral while they're asleep. And he smiles knowingly and speaks a little of his own interests, his own studies. He studies a lot and is interested in a number of subjects, and goes to classes and lectures and learns. He has a large extended family that was on Earth for a long time before I was born. He was the youngest of 9 or 10, and I came along youngest of 3. So by the time I came on Earth, many of them had passed, and I didn't get to know many of them. And they're all settled in the astral, living their lives. Fairly standard Earth-type life, as many in the Summerland do. They're more or less the same type of people enjoying a paradise, reward after the struggles of being, working class and living through difficult times like the First World War, the Depression, the Second World War. That family lived through a lot of that, and I didn't, but they did. And they're reaping the rewards of that struggle and sacrifice now, as many of their generation did and do. So I thank my father and say, I'll be on my way, Morris, and I will see you soon. And he said, of course, and off I go. Where am I projecting to next? I'm in one of these regenerative fountains that are dotted about in various parks. There's many decorative fountains, but there are ones that are set aside for sort of regeneration where you stand in the spray, and it's sort of a lovely, pleasing pastel shaded, multicolored spray with each, how you might shine a light on something and get all different reflective colors off the drops coming down on a spray. And it regenerates you psychically and energetically if you're worn out from your difficult times on Earth, or you've been to the lower astral to do some rescue mission, as I often do and others do. And it just regenerates your energy, cleans off all the lower astral vibey stuff in the physical plane, stresses, and just regenerates you. They're quite lovely. And like a shower here, but 10 times more. I was first introduced to them by other books by psychics that said, oh, you can do that once you've been to the lower astral. And, the lower astral can be a trying place. People are angry, resentful, narrow-minded, jealous, distrustful, filled with senses of guilt and meaninglessness, because they had difficult, rough lives that they now want to blame on somebody else, usually. Sometimes it's a God thing, sometimes it's a community thing or a religion thing. But the blame thing goes on. The pointlessness of an ugly life, and how did I wind up with that? And look at all these rotten people that are around me now. Where the hell did they come from? There's a lot of that. You've probably heard about this before, but I just wanted to remind you. I am wandering around one of these lower astral areas. It's a scruffy little decrepit town that really needs some regeneration and rebuilding, but it's probably not going to get it because nobody can be bothered. People live in shacks and worn down things that would like to be bungalows if they could struggle up to that level, and they're not. And the gardens are like ruined, uncared for little postage stamp gardens in scruffy suburbs. And, well, that reminds me of various North American cities, actually. But, you just know somebody's doing fentanyl or something like that in these rooms, lying around dopey and stupid and feeling sorry for themselves and, having sex with strangers and, all that fun stuff, And it's like a bad movie on Netflix. But it's there. And I'm not really trying to help anybody. I'm just passing through like a light. I'm in one place where one guy leans up off an old couch and looks and thinks he sees something, but it's me, and I'm not really projecting that much energy. I'm just passing through, and he just sort of wonders and then falls back down onto the couch. There's other occasions where I try to do more, but there's only a little that you can do. I have more success in the lower astral pubs, because people are, supping their beers, and they tend to be sociable. Beer makes people sociable, especially if they're hanging out with their old pals, talking about, the FA Cup. And in fact, they will be, because Manchester City just beat Manchester United, and all the Euros will be talking about that. It was only a couple of days ago, and not lots of them, some of them are inventive enough to go down to earth and watch. Others don't even know you can do that, but some do and come back and say, oh, I was there. And, they brag about it and stuff. So we're coming up to the end of my half an hour. I will pause and return soon. There is more to talk about. End of part 1. Thank you.